Hi, Gaz Williams here for Sonic Lab, and this is the third episode in our little series about the teenage engineering pocket operators. Here we have the PO14, or otherwise known as the sub, and we can see in the graphics there that we've got this submarine. The pattern's not playing, and we can see the little shipmate is snoozing away in his bunk, but when I push play, he runs up the stairs and gets the sub rocking. Anyway, that little screen is possibly a contentious issue, but we'll talk more about that later. But anyway, the sub is essentially a base machine in the pocket operator range. If you haven't watched any of the other episodes, I suggest you maybe watch the first episode to get an overview of these things. But this episode is going to specifically deal with this sub unit. Now, as with the others in the range, we've got essentially a 16-step grid here with a 16-step sequencer, and unlike the drum one, we've actually got 15 bass sounds, and in the 16th slot we've actually got a little drum machine. So this could actually act as a little standalone unit in its own right. So what we'll do though first is we'll have a little listen to the different sounds, and one thing that's quite interesting about this is that the two parameter knobs that we've got on here will do different things to the different sounds. Let me show you now. So I'm going to select sound and pattern and button 1. Now if I play, and as with all the range, these parameters are automatable in a pattern. Okay, now if we go into sound 2, we can hear a radically different sound, but also quite quiet compared. So I've noticed that there does seem to be some rather big volume differences between them. Sound 3. Sound 4. Sound 5. 6. I'm sure there is dubstep wobble available on that patch. Okay, sound 9. Sound 10. Oh, maybe that's more dubsteppy. Sound 8. Whoa. Some quite nasty sounds in that one. This is sound 13. Sound 14. Sound 15. So you can hear this quite a remarkable amount of different character per sound. Now when we can, as I mentioned earlier, if we come to sound 16, however, it's a kind of drum machine, but not exactly a traditional drum machine. So what we can do though is we can sequence. This is essentially a monophonic sequencer, but it does allow you to run the drum machine simultaneously. So you can do drum and bass patterns at the same time. So let's play our pattern here. I'm going to go pattern, pick pattern 1. Now if I now choose sound 16, I'm going to hold the right button down. So you can hear, you can put in sort of these kind of like glitchy kind of drum sounds in, which makes it quite fun, but it also makes the thing sound a bit more self-contained. Now, as with the other units, we can chain patterns together, and something that's quite nifty is that as we chain patterns, I'm going to hold down the pattern button, I'm going to go pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4. So now it'll play the patterns. The drums is only on pattern 1. And you can hear how as the patterns change, depending on what sound I've selected, that's the sound that will play. Now in pattern 4, I'm going to go pattern 4, play pattern 4. We've got this sound going on. If I now change it to sound 9, maybe put some automation in. So that is automatically now updated the sound. So if I chain those patterns again, and I'm going to just chain patterns 3 and 4 together this time. Pattern 3, pattern 4. So you can see it's really kind of very swift and easy to do these kind of things. You know, this kind of programming is one of the things that's quite nice about a hardware unit. To do this on a computer would be quite a long-winded process relative to being able to just dial it in really in a matter of seconds. But maybe quite a large downside to that though is that there's no MIDI input on this. If you want to play notes, you are essentially typing notes in like on a calculator essentially. So your musical, you know, extravagances may be constrained somewhat to that. So these are fixed in C major, but you know, if you know your modes, you can play it in a different as a different route. And it, like say, as you start with a D, play on a D, it'll have a more of a minor sound to it. Now, one of the things where this one differs now from the PO12 that we looked into on the previous episode is that we've got these Q button functions. Now, I say it's Q, it's not sure quite how to say it, but this button in the top right here. And what that does is that applies like note effects. Now, let's have a look at some of those. So if I choose a pattern, I'm going to choose pattern 2 and then have a listen. So when I hold the Q button down, I can do this. So it's essentially adding notes into the pattern, and as with the punching effects, let me show you the punching effects like we did. You can combine the cue and the effects. So you can make some pretty bonkers patterns out of this. And I guess maybe this is partly why we have got these fixed key things, because these are essentially note presets. I'm not sure quite if they would work if you had it in different, if the notes were out of scale, for instance. So if I clear the effects, hold key U down, hold down the effects button, hit 15. I can shift it up by a semitone. So a combination then of the key and the effects allows you to put quite a lot of movement and activity into your pattern. Now what, if I hold down right pattern, and my current pattern is flashing, pattern 2, and I hit 3, and I'm going to hold it down again, right pattern, and hit 4, I've now copied that pattern very simply across patterns 2, 3, and 4. So now if I hold down pattern, hit 2, hit 3, hit 4, and play, I'm going to have the same pattern playing 3 times. Now, when I do the effect, I can record effects and automation of parameters across this chained pattern. So that's a really nifty function. It means that you can very easily build long patterns. Now you can go up to 16 patterns chained together, and obviously write recording across them. Now, if you do have the pattern right back again, any automation, you can only have the automation per pattern. So if that pattern plays again and you change the automation, it will replace the automation that was currently there. And as with the PO12, if we hold down the BPM button, we can adjust the tempo and the swing. So, and with these 3 preset tempos, hip hop, disco, and techno. And well, I think, it's an interesting little box. I think it sounds quite nasty, quite sort of gnarly, and will sound good in a mix. It's got its obvious limitations as well, but I think the fact that there is a, albeit simple, drum machine functionality built into it as well adds to the appeal of it. And if you were to buy just one and you wanted more kind of pitch things, maybe this would be a good choice. But we're going to look in the next episode at the factory, the PO14, which is the synthesizer lead synth. So we'll see how that compares. But that's it for me now, Gaz Williams. See you in the next episode.